we might see those champions getting banned. We don't know if these two teams have done homework on each other, and if they have, they may be going for those targeted bans, but if they haven't, then they might probably be going for some of those more common bans, stuff like Elise, you know, stuff like Master Yi. These champions are generally regarded as very strong in the current meta, so those might be more appropriate bans.
They sure are, and in the current meta, actually, before that, we are in Champion Select right now, so we'll be going into that very shortly for you guys. Massey, I actually think that he'll be banned 90% of the matches at least, because if you see in the current North American LCS and the EU LCS, even though they're playing on patch 3.10, the same as everybody here today, Massey is completely banned out permanently. The teams don't have to ban him out. He has just been disabled so that the teams cannot play him, and that Deride's just stating that he's way too overpowered right now, so it'll be very interesting to see if these teams do not ban him out. Thresh ban coming out from Mineski here. I'm not surprised at that, because after doing some research myself, XGames here, they will always pick up Thresh if he is left open as their first pick. So Mineski banning that one out. Jarvan also another champion played out by XGames. So we know quite a bit about XGames here, because we have seen a few of their games, but not so much about Mineski, besides from Kaiju and Snoid.
Well, Kaiju does like to play Rise. He's played Rise a couple of times. I remember him playing Kassadin as well, but they've left that open. I think Kassadin now not so favorable in the current meta. We may see an Elise first pick here for XGame, a very solid champion. She has gotten nerfed a couple of times, but she's still a really solid pick. Lee Sin is going to be their first pickup as their jungler. I think that's a really solid pickup as well.
And Gragas has not been picked up by either team yet, so it'll be very interesting to see if XGame do continue with the tradition of picking up Lee Sin second and Gragas third if Thresh is banned out here. Nocturne being banned out by XGame, which is not too surprising. He's had a really big resurgence in both the Korean scene and the European scene as well. A lot of junglers have been picking him up just for the heavy initiate, and if you combo up a Nocturne with a Shen ultimate, it is absolutely devastating for the backline of any team here. Zac and Sona will be picked up by Mineski here. Two champions that have really heavy crowd control, and Sona for the bottom lane will pack a punch early on, and they might actually pick up Blitzcrank here with Vayne for XGame.
Right, so I think the thing about that Nocturne ban is that it's not so much for the initiation, but it's more about that vision denial. I think a lot of people have been realizing just how powerful that can be in team fights if you're able to deny some of that vision that your opponent has. I think right now we're going to see the Janna locked in here for XGame, not one of the most popular supports in the game at the moment. And we're going to see a lock-in here of a Vayne. I think somebody was talking about, Teddy Timbers was talking about, I believe Mineski liking to go for the dual lane in the mid. So they might be trying to do some of that lane swap techniques, or rather tactics here for this game against XGame. But we'll have to see the full lineup before we figure out if it's worth it to go for that lane swap.
So Mineski here, they are hovering over a Nasus pickup, which would most likely go into the jungle for them here. And if they do go for that Nasus pickup, I do think they might go for a lane swap here. Nasus has been coming back into popularity. He never really died down, but he has been coming back into popularity quite recently. And he just excels so well when your team forces a 2-on-1 swap. His wave clear potential is fantastic. His diving potential is fantastic as well. And his objective control, especially for Baron and Dragon, is absolutely amazing. Once he hits level 6, he can pretty much solo out Dragon with his ultimate.
Right, Nasus is a great objective securer, and of course he scales well into the late game as well. So if you have Nasus on your team, you can count him as that little extra bit of insurance. I think that that's something that's a great pickup for them. And
that is just how amazing the crowd is. He can't even talk as soon as they start rearing up.
When they start talking, I mean when they start roaring, that's it. We got to keep down for a while, but you know, we'll deal with that. It seems like XGame is going to get a couple of the champions that they really like, Vladimir and Gragas here. They've locked in the Vladimir, they're thinking about the Gragas.
Very interesting from XGame though. They've been known to last pick Shen if he is left open throughout the entire picks and ban space. But they did not do that. Instead, they went for their Gragas pickup, which is normally their second pick. Vlad also, as you said before, is a very common pickup for them. And they are hovering over Caitlyn right now. If they do go for this Caitlyn pickup, we'll see a double AD carry or marksman from Mineski Gaming.
Right, so this is going to be interesting if they go for this double AD lineup. I think they can actually go and bully Gragas a little bit in the lane, because Gragas doesn't really get his wave clearing ability. until he hits about level 7. That's when the barrels are able to clear the minion wave. Before that, he's going to have a really tough time actually getting rid of the whole wave. Plus, he's a melee champion, so he can't really auto-attack the minions. Half of his AoE damage comes from his body slam. And he's not going to be able to use that when there's a Caitlyn there. She's going to be putting down traps. She's going to be able to, you know, get in your face. But they switch that over to the Diana, right? just as I like talk about Caitlyn all the way in.
Happens to Judy all the time. You go on a champion that's supposed to pick up, they swap it over the last minute.
But I think Diana is a great pickup. Diana does well against melee champions, so Shield's going to be able to get some extra bit of damage against Gragas early on.
The thing I really like about that Diana pickup is that it goes very well with the Zac and the Nasus pickup. If what Teddy Timber said earlier is true, and Mineski do like to go for that dual lane with the AD carry and support, most likely going into mid lane, but if they go for a 2-on-1 situation, Zac and Diana do fantastic in a 2-on-1 situation where they have a solo lane, and coming up with Nasus, who does fantastic in 2-on-1 situations, especially where they force it. It'll be fantastic for Mineski if they run their strategy that Teddy Timber has suggested before.
Right. Oh, wow. Over on the side of... Wait a second here.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, so that was a little bit of a hiccup there.
Ooh, that was a bit scary.
I was like, whoa.
Hopefully no bug spots going on.
So, okay, so everything's going perfectly fine. Over on the side of XGames, they have a little bit more of an interesting composition. They've got, you know, they got a couple of AoEs. Crazy crowd. They got a couple of AoEs. You know, they've got Gragas and Janna, both who are great at disengaging. Gragas can be used for initiation. Janna not so much, but I'm just wondering why they want to go for this long kiting game with the champions that they have. Their champions.
This reminds me a lot about Season 1 actually, where Gragas and Janna was picked up by the winning team Fnatic. They used that to counter out a suppression team comp in the World Finals of the Season 1. But the complementary champions here, I don't think Vlad will do very well with Janna picked up here. With Gragas, I can understand if Vlad pops down his ultimate followed up by the Gragas explosive cast, it'll do massive amounts of damage with the extra damage it provides. But then again, Janna is more for the disengage, but with a Diana and Zac and even a Nasus here that'll be running into the back lines of XGame, the Gragas and Janna pickup does make sense to knock them back and keep their backline of Vayne incredibly safe.
Right, so we did see, I'm just going to have to familiarize myself with a couple of the player names here. Crike, Vigos, Minas, and Justa. Over on the side of XGames, whereas on Mineski we got TG, EXO, Yume, and Snoy. Of course, Kaigu's there as well. See them checking out these bushes. They're just going to poke around in this level 1. Zac, I always feel, is a great level 1 champion. But, you know, they're not going to be going for a level 1 fight here on Mineski.
You're going to have Lee Sin going into the jungle against Nasus. We're going to have Vlad in the top lane against Zac. That's if they do go for the traditional laning phase here. And we're going to have Vayne and Janna going up against an Ezreal and Sona down in the bottom lane here. Most of the players who just look to be playing this level 1 out very passively. A pink ward was placed down into the jungle of Mineski by XGame to get rid of a ward that was placed down there early on. A bit of early game wards coming out from XGame, but none from Mineski so far, which is very surprising because most teams do go for the early wards.
So I think this is going to be a pretty farm-heavy lane here at the top. We might see. Actually, I think it can swing either way based on player skill between Zac and a Vladimir, because if Vladimir plays it well, he can actually out-sustain Zac, but if Zac plays it well, he can jump in and deal more damage than Vlad is able to handle. Over at the bot lane, big fight coming in here. EXO's trying to get the kill on Mineski, and Minas is going to get away with barely any health.
That is devastating nonetheless for Vayne there. Now that she has to go back to the base at level 1 with incredibly little experience. It's going to be really crazy. Oh my goodness, Link's actually going into the jungle here. Jumping shell that last splashes away there. There's actually going on all around the map. We can barely commentate on this one. The crowd is actually going nuts every time something does take place. Vayne is now at a disadvantage. He had to go back to base very early on with very little experience and just pretty much went back to the gun with a few health potions. Ezra is level 2 now. Will have a stronger laning phase because of that. And now Nasus just burned his flash very early on into the game.
Right, I don't know if he should have burned his flash there because Lee Sin would have been taking a big risk to get in on him. I think he could have survived without that flash burn. And I'm not quite sure I really like that flash there as compared to a Ghost. Yume is going to be a bit aggressive here in the mid lane, but he's going to lose out on that trade. A little bit surprising considering the fact he's up against Gragas.
So this is bottom lane for XGame now. They really have to climb back into this game. Vayne normally does incredibly well against an Ezreal lane just because Ezreal has no true way to harass her over the creep wave. But now that he's picked up that small and slight advantage over the experience over Vayne and now has tower control, pushing Vayne into the tower constantly with Solar and Ezreal, they can get free damage off onto this bottom lane. And they continue to keep up the pressure. I feel that Vayne might not be able to scale fantastically into this late game, which is what XGame really need with this team composition. And there's a fight going down bottom, Jehudi.
Right, we have a gank coming in up. Big fight over at the bottom. First blood that gets picked up. Minus is going to go down. Meanwhile, at the top, we see another gank coming in here. Mineski is just destroying. They're going to pick up the Ignite kill there on Justa. And it looks like they're in for a great start here.
So despite the early invade coming in for the jungler of XGame, and the XGame jungler Cryo here, CryoQ, he's been well known to be a very aggressive and early counter invading god, but actually no, there's going to be a fight middle, Judy.
Oh, they're going to try to go for Yume here. Yume gets away, but Crike is in a bit of trouble. I don't think Kaigu's going to be able to put on enough pressure to finish him off, though, especially not with Nero over there.
So much action going on early on, and as I was saying just then, the jungler from XGame has been known to be a very aggressive and early invading jungler. He loves to counter jungle and is very good at doing so. Despite getting the flash burn on Nasus very early on, he hasn't done much else for the team. The bot lane for Mineski has been able to shut down XGame's Vayne very early on and continued with their advantage so far, sending Vayne back to base once and killing her once as well. And still denying her from experience and minions by pushing it into the tower. Top lane with the gank coming in from Kaiju with the help of Snowy up there, we're able to take down Vladimir, who is normally an incredibly safe laner who can escape ganks very well. And with that, it might actually snowball in Mineski's favor with this top lane and bottom lane doing incredibly well, only 6 minutes or 5.5 minutes into the game.
Right, I think it's interesting that he called Kaiju Kaiju because he is almost like a Kaiju. He's that massive in this game. I think he's going to be making as big an impact as those guys from the Pacific Rim. We're going to see a little bit of aggression here coming in from Minus. I mean, despite the fact that EXO has been doing so well in lane, they take good advantage of the fact that TG decided to go ward. Now the exhaust is down. EXO is in trouble. Are they going to be able to get vision in the brush? They're going to go in for it. The flash will keep him safe.
They did manage to burn the flash away from him, so he'll still be relatively safe if his arcane shift is out the next gank that's coming out. A little bit of a sloppy gank actually coming out from CryoQ here. I do feel that he could have safeguarded onto one of the champions and then followed up with either a Sonic Wave or even throwing down the Tempest for the slow there, but was not able to do so. The mid lane between the two teams is incredibly even right now. Their summoners are still, actually no, both their summoners are down right now. Only Gragas has that flash available for him if he chooses to flash away, but the minion score is completely even. A bit of a differentiation in the item build, but this early in the game, it will not matter too much between these two mid laners.
Right, I think what should have happened there was that Minus should have just saved his knockback. His condemn was actually used a little bit too early, and because of that, he didn't have it ready for the stun that he could have gotten on EXO in the brush. That would have led to a more successful gank. Meanwhile, we do see Crike running around here. Gonna run right into Kaigu. The burst damage. There's no way he's getting away. He's gonna get away. Oh, beautiful save. Amazing save there from Nero. Keeps his friend alive. Meanwhile, at the bottom lane, we've got EXO putting on the chase. Where's that arcane shift? 13 seconds on cooldown. Not gonna be able to get this one. Misses that mystic shot.
My goodness, that was incredible good play from both the teams there. Lee Sin decided to do a double face check into that brush there. Came out with a Nasus and the diamond on top of his face. But Nero Q there had a fantastic explosive class, knocking both of them out of the way. Snore is going in hard on the top lane though. Ryback gets taken out. Actually, Snore back at the top. Now he just has to kill the Boblets. He's shipped out of yourself. Snore will be taken down by Vlad.
That was so risky. He knew that he had his He had his split there, his Soul Division, but getting hit and killed under the turret before taking out the Vladimir, no, that was a big mistake. Snowy had Ignite up. I don't know if it was on cooldown, but if he had been a little bit more patient, it would have probably been out. Meanwhile, Justa here has to watch out for a Shusha Barrage. That could come in at any time.
Come on, Exo, you know you want to do it. Throw it up there, just try and get this snipe off. He will have that troll pool available though if he decides to throw it out. He's going to head back to base. That will not be able to get up in time if he decides to still continue on with that one. Mineski here is still in a terrible spot at this bottom lane. Really behind in terms of experience, and the minute score is not in his favor either. 10 minute score behind Ezreal very early on. This is a lane that Vayne generally does well in. The Sona will add to Exo's advantage, but with the Janna pickup, it should negate most of the poke damage that does come out. Nonetheless, Mineski are doing fantastic in this early game, especially at the bottom lane.
Right, so meanwhile at the mid lane, oh, Nero with a poor initiation. That would have been an easy one to land. That explosive barrel had no excuse to miss. That should have been a kill for, XGame. They could have gotten that in. In comes the aggression. Mineski is actually going to take a lot of damage there.
So Mineski, for the level 1 here, didn't end up going for that lane swap early on. So it's going to be very interesting to see what their idea for this Nasus strategy is, because normally we do only see Nasus when it is a lane swap. He's okay at ganks, he's okay for
but he's getting caught out here. He is going to get kicked back. In comes the Dragon's Rage. Is he going to try the elastic slingshot out? He's got some help coming in from Kaigu. Kaigu's going to go for that slow on to Justa. Justa backs up. Yume picks up a kill. Meanwhile, on the mid lane, and that is going to be a broken up fight. Yume picking up a kill under the tower. What went wrong there?
So, although Mineski are doing incredibly well in this early game, just in terms of the laning phase as well, I'm very interested to see how their Nasus strategy is going to help them out. He hasn't gone for the early game, but my goodness, a fight bottom! He's going to go down! Janna's at 1 health! Exo pick it up! Exo's in trouble! Exo, stop taking the tower! Kamaria from both AD players! Manus is in trouble! And that was fantastic play once again from Mineski, despite Exo taking about 10 tower shots there. Really unbelievable from these players.
Meanwhile, Snowy is going to be a little bit afraid of Justa here in the top lane. That was just fantastic from EXO and TG. I can't believe TG actually survived from that fight. Managed to get the exhaust down on Minus. And, that was just fantastic mechanical play there.
This mid lane, we did see Diana pick up that kill early on. Has been able to keep a small minion advantage. Negatron Cloak actually being kicked up by both these mid laners, and oh my goodness, top lane Snowy might go down here. Right, he won't go down, but he might not be able to pick up this kill in revenge for his teammate. He will smack him now with that Cyclone Strike to pick him up right at the end.
Right, still a very good lead here for Mineski. They're about 2.5k ahead of XGame, but XGame does have a lot of late game strength. Vladimir scales really well, and of course Vayne there is going to be the strongest AD carry in the game when it comes to that late game. Nice catch onto TG, but they can't go too aggressively here because EXO is pretty farmed up. He's got that BF sword. You can see the aggression coming in here on Minus. Lots of poke from the two of them in the bottom lane.
I'm still very scared for this bottom lane of XGame though, because even though that's a lane they should have won now, as I've said so many times this game, they're just getting further and further behind. And although Vayne is a late game attack damage carry, if she gets set behind so far early on, and EXO on Ezreal managed to overtake her incredibly well, I don't see how Mineski can come back into this game.
Right, they're going to try to go for this. The Trisha Barrage misses. EXO is going to get exhausted. Oh, very nice one there. Oh, beautiful. Amazing.
Oh my goodness. That is unbelievable. Just as we were talking about, Mineski needs to come back in this game. Fantastic gang coming in from CryoQ, help them out, secure the kill there. EXO went incredibly aggressive. Thought he had the kill down the bottom lane. Janna thought he was, actually it looked like Janna was blowing Ezreal into the wrong direction, right into the face of Mineski, but in fact she was going straight into Lee Sin, who was coming in for the gank there. We did see Kaigu come in to try and get the counter gank off, but was not able to do anything much besides forcing them away from that bottom lane.
Right, EXO getting a little bit too overconfident, and he cannot afford to do that because that is a lane which can very easily snowball back in favor of Mineski. You know, Vayne is such a strong champion when she gets the chance to pick up those kills that if Ezreal gives out 1 or 2 more deaths, that could be it. You know, that could easily turn things around.
And talking about the item build coming up from XGame here, Mineski did pick up a Bilgewater Cutlass, most likely going to that Blade of the Ruin King early on, and she picks that one up, and Exo still goes for the Bloodthirster. Although Exo will do incredibly well in team fights, Mineski can duel out almost anybody in the team just with that Blade of the Ruin King alone. And the mid lane for XGame here has a lot of magic resist very early into the game. A Negatron Cult and a Chalice already picks up.
Right, they're preparing for that double AP composition that we see on XGame. They want to be able to deal with that damage from Gragas. Oh, nice stun on TG. Good dodge there. He manages to evade a 3-shot barrage, but in comes the crescendo. There's some help coming from Lee Sin. Lee Sin is going to try to save him. Oh no! Down goes Mineski, and EXO is just taking them all on. Double kill! Double kill for the support.
So Gragas is going bottom. He's going to throw the explosive gas. Sona's in trouble now. One more auto time will do it. He's just going to stand there and accept the fate. Body slap to the face, says Hero Q here. And that's a 3-for-3 exchange in such a prolonged fight. Incredible mechanical play coming out from both teams in that fight there.
That was just nuts. EXO went in on a 3 versus 2. We're going to see Mineski pick up the dragon here as, you know, the whole lot of XGame there. Oh, might get caught. Forces the flash on Gragas. My goodness.
And for all you people watching back home, this is only the first game of the tournament, and it's already incredibly action-packed from 2 teams we have never seen before. Just wait till we continue down the bracket later on in the day and tomorrow here. So far, XGame against Mineski. Mineski has a slight lead ahead of them. Did manage to pick up the first dragon of the game against him very early, not very early on, just recently actually. We did see Caillou pop his ultimate on Nasty there with the help of Yuumi on Diana in the mid lane to pick that one out after the chaotic fight took place at the bottom lane.
Right, let's have a look at the goal difference that we have between this Vayne and the Ezreal. Ezreal's about 1,200 goal ahead, getting so aggressive here. Don't have that crescendo on Sona though, so I wonder about whether that aggression is going to work for them. Taigu wary about engaging here as just they're going to go for it, but where is Taigu? Taigu's not there. They go for the left bounce. The ignite is on Soy. Justa takes a little bit of damage. They're going back in. Dragon's Rage! Dragon's Rage back into the fight. Soy will get pulled. He is going to go down here. He's getting pretty low. Oh my goodness, the Lee Sin is all over the place. Cell Division gets popped. Are they going to be able to finish this off? Ah, they finished them off!
England with a sliver of help there. Lee Sin absolutely amazing there. I don't know how they did it. It's there Mike Queen back and forth in and out of tower range. Tanking out out to pick up Snoy. Snoy initiated there and realized he had absolutely no friends backing him up. Tiger left him alone for so long. Decided not to back up his fight, and that cost Mineski there. This fight helped XGame pull back into this game.
Right, I think Tiger there made a big mistake, allowing his ally to just fight against them 2 versus 1. Oh, nice pickup there from EXO. Beautiful true shot barrage. No chance at all from Mineski. I think they really need to back up in this bottom lane. They need to be a little bit less aggressive. You can see Vayne has been quite aggressive, you know, throughout, and I think that's not paying off.
So although we were told that Mineski normally likes to run that mid lane and support an AD carry going into the mid lane, it seems quite obvious now why they decided to throw him into the bottom lane against Mineski and Biggest Q here. I do feel that they only went in, but actually no, there's going to be a fight taking place once again, Jehudi.
Oh, they managed to get Yuumi back into the fight. They're going to go for it. Spike is going to stick onto him. Takes a lot of damage though, so he's forced to back off. EXO is into the fight. Look at Nero, he's drinking with just a sliver of health. He's going to try to get back into that fight. What is he thinking? Risking his life here. I think he should just back out of that one. Mineski now going to put some pressure on the tower. They can afford to do that because XGame has so many low health champions.
My goodness, so we can see why they did send their AD carry down to the bottom lane instead of what they normally like to do into the middle lane. EXO just said we can fight them, and they went ham onto this bottom lane. They did actually destroy Minas and Vegas down at the bottom lane. Janna and Vayne were in no capability to handle the pressure that came out from EXO and Sona on T here. And at the middle lane, another chaotic fight taking place between the two teams. There's been back and forth action between them the entire game so far.
Right, this is just so close. The lead is right now 3,000 gold here for Mineski. If you ask me about late game team compositions, despite the fact that there's that Lee Sin on XGame, I would, give them the late game advantage because they've got that Vayne as well as the Vladimir.
The thing I
like goes Crike tries to lock onto EXO, but EXO is able to just arcane shift out of trouble.
The thing I like about Mineski's team composition though is they do have Zac and Nasus, two incredibly tanky champions that scale well into the late game. They have Sona who scales incredibly well into late game as a support as well. Ezreal, he does fall off as an attack damage carry, especially the later game goes on. But with Diana, one of the AP mids who can literally one-shot an 80 carry, the later the game goes, the more devastating damage that she can dish out to a single target in one burst is absolutely crazy. And she gets a great crushing strike down onto Minas on Vayne here. I do fear for XGame getting taken out just because Vayne can get bursted out by Diana in the mid lane very early on into the late game team fights.
Right. We are going to see both teams just separate for a while here. Objective was picked up for Mineski. They could be looking for a couple more. The top turret is still up. They're going to try to go for a gank here. They're using that ward. That Oracles of theirs very aggressively clearing up as much vision as they can. A little bit of counter warding here going on from Vigos. He tries to get out. They've managed to catch on to Nero. Nero misses the explosive cast again. That cannot be good because now they have the ability to pressure the mid lane. They know that Gragas doesn't have his ult anymore.
Nero here is missed through explosive shots and hit a few good ones as well. A little bit fluctuating in terms of consistency that he has hit those explosive casts so far in this game. Both of the teams juking around mid lane for some time. You have Zac coming around the back of the middle lane here. He's actually going to jump onto the blue buff. Not sure if that is still up there. It doesn't take. Does look like that is down in lane. Very early on into the lane. Head up back up to that top lane. The rest of both teams are still at this middle lane, just dancing over the invisible dragon, which has not respawned yet.
I think they do have the timer on it. They're pinging it. It should be up in just a little while.
21 minutes that Dragon should come back up, so they're spending, I think they're way too early for this one. The timer we have here is 21 minutes, but we may be mistaken here. Mineski still camping around that Dragon for quite some time.
Oh, there we go.
So there we go, 20 minutes, 35 seconds. Dragon will be taken down by Mineski here. Very good timing there. They were very patient, but no, they're going to jump on the wall. My goodness! Vigos got bursted down incredibly fast there. Fantastic crescendo and jump over by Diana. Now Minas is in trouble here. Could get chased down, Judy.
Oh, they're going to try to go for this one. Yume wants to go in. He's going to use that Crescent Strike. Not enough damage. The shield picks him up. And they're going to get another kill there from Mineski. They're going to go for a long engage here over in the mid lane as well. EXO's in trouble. He pops the barrier to stay alive. Doesn't want to get picked up by the Hemoblade. Nero is drinking when he shouldn't be. Where is Crike going to go? Snowy is coming in here. Justa's in trouble. Oh, Crike picks up the kill on TG. Snowy pops the Let's Vouch. They're going to go for the kill on Justa. And meanwhile, we're going to see Yume just keep on going. He's the cleanup crew. He gets the kill.
Fantastic play coming out from Mineski there. They did a fantastic job of absolutely destroying XGame there. The crescendo over the wall, that Dragon was fantastic. That chase someone out, picking out 2 kills, and then they managed to pick up Lee Sin, Vlad, and Gragas there. An extended ace coming out from them. They weren't able to push for any objectives besides the Dragon, but still will be a huge chunk of gold in their pocket. And speaking of the gold score, they have over 6,000 gold in their advantage right now ahead of XGame.
Right, all they need to get to is over 9,000 and things will be out of control. Looks like XGame's Vigos here as a support. He's doing his best to, keep the team going well. He's got that Oracle's Elixir, but he's taking a lot of damage just from the minions themselves, and he got snagged by that True Shot Barrage. Gotta be careful when he goes to warding.
We're gonna have Mineski here. Looks like they want to group out once again. Oh my goodness, actually they're going for a fight here, Judy. They do back off, but it looks like they wanted to initiate there, decided not to. Both teams grouping around the mid lane once again. Both the attack damage carries, or marksmans I should say, are not in this team fight just yet. Vayne is roaming between bottom and mid lane. Happy feeding right now, but they're gonna initiate here. Oh, what? No, they decided not to.
You know what's a little bit disappointing? It's a little bit disappointing to see Mineski's ward control in this match has been quite weak around the river area. They've got some planted in the enemy jungle, but not so many in their own river area.
XGame are really confusing me right now. They've gone in with a resonating strike. They body slammed into the entire team of Mineski, but they've done absolutely nothing with that so far. They're just going in and poking, but that's a fight, Judy.
Right, they're going to get caught in here. Snoy goes in with the let's bounce. The crescendo lockdown strike. Yume is going to go in as well. He's going to get taken out, but Minus is still dealing a lot of damage. He's going to be able to take out Snoy here. Snoy is caught in the back line. He will get split by the spell division. Minas there. Picks up the kill on TG. He's going to keep on going. Is he going to be able to get EXO? EXO is going to go one-on-one with him. Kaigu will help out though. And EXO will pick up the double kill. Now it's going to be a chase down with Trike trying to go for Kaigu. Gonna go right onto him. He's got backup, so Kaigu doesn't want to turn around here. I think he's gonna go down. Kaigu will get slowly but surely chased down here. And the rest of the team goes in.
And you can hear the whole crowd. They are cheering on XGame right now. They want the Vietnamese team to pick up this game. XGame played fantastically in that team fight. They got initiated on by the mid lane of Mineski there. They were behind 6,000 gold. They managed to pull it back to 4,000. But fantastic play with them. They came from behind and destroyed Mineski in that fight. It was a 2-for-5 exchange, acing out Mineski right at the finish.
They came from behind indeed, man. That was totally a little bit too much aggression from Mineski. Snoy went in very early, as did Yume. I think the fact that Yume got taken out in that fight very early on caused a lot of problems. You know, Minus was there dealing a lot of damage from the back lines, and nobody was really dealing with him until EXO went on to him. Kaigu helped to take him out, but before that, Minus was getting a lot of free hits, and he just can't let that happen with a Vayne. She's a short-range champion. You need to make sure that, you know, they're zoning her out.
EXO did go very aggressive in the later stages of that team fight there. Was not able to pick up too much besides the finishing touches onto Minas at the end of the team fight, but he got taken down himself, which is not something you want to do as a marksman or an AD carry. What you really want to be doing is the absolute maximum amount of damage you can do in a long period over a team fight, not sacrificing yourself to pick up 1 or 2 kills. The only time you really want to do that as an AD carry is if you go for the ace and if majority of your team is left alive at the finish.
Right. So now Mineski is in a bit of a tight spot because they're starting to lose that massive lead that they had. It's slowly shrunk down to just about 4,000 gold. It used to be 6,000 gold, and they cannot let that keep happening because Vladimir and Vayne, like I've kept saying, are going to be very, very potent forces coming into that late game.
Both teams once again dancing around this mid lane. Sonic Wave did hit onto Kaigo on Nasus there, not going to follow it up with the resonating strike. Mineski grouping a lot around Baron. It looks like they want to send Ezreal back up to the top lane. If they leave him up there alone, he will be able to take out a tower for Mineski, but potentially XGame could engage onto him while Ezreal is away from the team.
Right, it's a little bit interesting to see that Mineski's been focusing a lot of their efforts towards the mid lane, when actually the top lane would have been much easier for them to pick up. It's already down to half out. They're going to go for an engage here. Yume's leading the charge, but he shouldn't be. He's tanky, but he's not tanky enough. In comes the flash crescendo! Yume goes in. He bumps the Zonia. Let's bounce right onto Minus. Snyder sticking onto that 80 carry. XGame is going to get wrecked here. Their 80 carry is down. Justa goes down. And this is going to be brutal. Oh, Snoy going for the elastic slingshot.
That is the initiative that Mineski really wanted. They wanted to jump onto Vayne. The soul damage, well, most of the damage coming out from XGame was Vayne. They jumped on her. She got 1 or 2 shots onto Snoy, on Zach. That's not the target that she needs to be hitting for the team fight when she's under pressure. Mineski only lost 1 push in the fight, and that was the support TG on Sona, who flashed for a beautiful defender to start up the fight for Mineski there. XGame, although it looks like they were in great shape to counter out the initiative coming up from Mineski, were not ready for that fight.
Right, they really, really shouldn't have gone right in for that. That was no vision for them, and that was what allowed Sona to just flash crescendo, locking down the entire team. Snoy also with a really good initiation there. He was the one who actually kept Minus out of that entire fight just by sticking to him like glue.
So Baron has been picked up by Mineski, a very safe Baron, a great pickup for them. Will increase their gold lead, and Baron will give them 8,000 gold just worth of statistics for a few minutes.
What is Crikey doing? Crikey! Crikey, what are you doing?
Crikey,
Crikey! Crikey's gonna go in there. They're gonna go for a fight here. Vigos gets pretty low. Snowy is on the sidelines. Kaigu could choose to go in this fight. XGame is gonna go in for this one. Oh, they all get called in by Yume. Yume is the beast here. He's gonna go for more kills. The Crescent Strike goes in. He's gonna try to chase down Vigos. Meanwhile, Crikey will, oh, that flash. That was a bad flash from Crikey. And Justo will get taken out.
Oh my goodness, I have no idea what XGame was trying to do there. As you said, what was Crikey doing? He jumped into the Dragon Pit. It looked like they forced Mineski away, but the rest of the team was just charging down to back up their members who were in a bit of trouble there. And XGame forced a fight onto a Baron up Mineski. That 8,000 gold worth of position and health regeneration was enough for Mineski to snowball down XGame in that huge team fight.
Right, now they're going to lose that inhibitor because of this. They're not going to have anyone spawning in nearly enough time to stop this. Snowy books his way out of there, takes the elastic slingshot express, and he'll be safe over there.
Mineski do pick up 2 towers for that kill at Dragon. So did lose Dragon to XGame though. Crikey did manage to smack that one up. Now the mid tower for XGame is under a lot of pressure. XGame just had to get 1 or 2 auto attacks. Could have done it in that short time frame. Decided not to do so there though.
EXO's dealing so much damage here. He got a buttload of damage onto that turret. Minus here trying to get some damage onto Kaigu, but he fails to do so. Now we can see EXO here in a bit of a tight spot. He easily gets out of there with the arcane shift. That's the thing about Ezreal, he's so mobile.
XGame there, Minus just used their ultimate final hour for pretty much no reason there. Roll into the mid lane and decide to roll back out once again.
The cooldown's pretty short, so as long as they make sure not to go for a big engagement, she won't really be in too much trouble for popping that out. But definitely that was a pretty useless ult that she used there.
So Guardian's Angel has been picked up by Diana in the mid lane. Gonna make an even more deadly initiator for Mineski right now. She'll be able to go in. The Guardians will be able to keep her alive if she is bursted down by XGame's team members.
Right, and that's exactly what Yume has been doing. Yume has been pairing up with Snowy for some serious disruption. Snowy goes in first, pops the Let's Bounce, and then we see Yume following up with the Moonfall, and there's really nothing that XGame can do. They just get so disoriented, they get completely split up. First they get split up by the Let's Bounce, then they get pulled back in. It's a mess for them. XGame really needs to tighten up their game.
Some fantastic itemization coming out from Mineski for their team composition though. They have Zac who's going to be going in with a ton of ability power damage, because Zac skills off incredibly well off AP and just magic penetration alone because of the percentage damage he can do. The Sunfire King will do a short amount of damage for a longer period of time, and also we're going to have Nasus backing up with the
if they manage to catch on to Nero, Nero actually gets out of there in time. They will be able to pick up this top lane turret though, and it's going to be pretty much for free here as Yume just starts getting down on it, grinding that turret. EXO being so aggressive, they're going to go in, Spy gets in, but Vigos pops the Monsoon to knock him away, but they're still sticking in at a crescendo, lads. Let's Bounce goes in. That is going to be it. XGame stands no chance here. They are just going crazy on them. Mineski goes to town, and Crikey will go down.
That's an ace coming out for XGame there. They played fantastic the entire game. The only early game that's they came out with was when Kaigu decided to abandon Snowy at the top lane and when also burn his flash in the jungle there. But now Mineski should be able to take down the side. They can potentially end the game right here.
Right, it's going to be a close one, but there is a chance because they've got that bottom inhibitor down. I would have actually just hit it right in there for that Nexus turret. Now they've got about 10 seconds to do this. I think they've got enough time. That first Nexus turret goes down. The second Nexus turret now in trouble. This is it. This will be it. Mineski moves on, and it's going to be XGame to the losers bracket. My goodness, and that was a crazy first match.
And that was only the first match of this tournament as well.
Right.
Mineski game, I've been calling the Mineski the entire game. Mineski game going up against XGame there. They played fantastically well against each other. There was incredible action going back and forth between the two teams as well. But Mineski came out superior in later on in the stage and played out their team composition fantastically as well.
Right, you know what I really like about how Mineski played this is that they had the advantage and they held on to it. They didn't let it slip. They got that advantage early on in the bottom lane. Made a couple of mistakes, but they very quickly patched it up, went for those team fights where their initiation was really, really strong. The combination of Yume with that Diana plus Snoy on that Zac was too much for XGame to deal with. Add on to that, that XGame was going in for fights which were really not what they should have been doing.
They sure weren't. They were able to counter out a few fights that Mineski tried to enforce the initiate onto them, but not too much when they got a perfect initiation off onto Mineski Gaming. And the Dragon fight on a Baron off Mineski was really the absolute turning point for XGame. There was no way they could come back after throwing the game incredibly hard at that Dragon pit there. But fair play for both teams. They played incredibly well in this game, and well done to Mineski advancing in the winner's bracket.
Right, so it's only going to be XGame heading to the loser's bracket, so it's not too bad after all. They'll be facing off whoever's in the loser's bracket after the BKT versus KLH match. We're going to be having the Bangkok Titans going up against the Kuala Lumpur Hunters very, very soon. So do stick around. This is Vietnam. We're here for the Season 3 Southeast Asia League of Legends qualifiers. We'll be right back.
Don't go away.
And I'm just trying to wonder what's going through Sentinel's minds right now. What are they doing in this game? They came out all the way to the finals without really losing